car audio guys these days. You overpowering everything. Too much power, too big of subs. Arr.
What's up, guys? We got something cool going on today. This is what we're doing. So we're gonna myth bust something today. I'm sure you've heard guys on the forums and even on YouTube say, oh, these numbers are not that high that you guys are hitting with all this big equipment. Back in the day, I hit 150 dB on a 200 watt sub and a 300 watt amp. And we all heard it. And part of me is curious, I've been into car audio a long time, but back in the day, for one, they didn't have SPL meters readily available like they do now. So where did these guys get their numbers? Are they just making it up, or is this stuff real? But we're going to check it out. And what I did is, on purpose, I didn't get a crazy sub because I wanted to mimic the stuff that was around 20 years ago, or more, where back in the day, they didn't really have anything readily available over like 200, 300 watt RMS. And just to clarify, I know they had higher powered stuff back then, but it was very rare. You couldn't just walk into a normal audio shop and get it. Most of the stuff was around 100 to 300 watts. And these are the guys making those comments that say that they're hitting these numbers. So that's what we're trying to mimic today. So we're just using this cheap Kicker 15 at 600 RMS. And this thing is nothing crazy. It's really light for a 15 and looks a little bit cheap actually. But I did that on purpose because it's a low wattage sub at 600 RMS. So I wanted to try to, again, mimic the stuff they had 20 years ago or back in the day. And then we're just going to run this on my trusty little Korean Soundstream that puts out 600 watts at 2 ohms. And I did dyno this, so this actually puts out a true 600 watts. So this is the setup here. We got a true 600 watt amp at 2 ohm and a 600 watt RMS rated 15 that's going to be finaled at 2 ohms. And we're going to see what it can do. So I kind of want to put this to rest, and it'll either do it or it won't, but we'll know firsthand. And obviously the boxes are going to be different. Guys are going to say, well, it could have done 150 if you had it in this box. Look, the box I'm going to put it in is good. I know what it does. So basically, if it doesn't hit close to what my other single 15s do, then we know it's myth busted. Or hey, maybe we'll learn something, and maybe you can get as loud off of a low wattage setup like this as like a 3 or 5K amp and a high powered $500 to $800 sub. And this is not a full review on this sub. We're just simply metering it and see how many dB we get out of this setup. So if you want to see the full review, I'll be posting that in a couple weeks. But for right now, let's just get to it. Guys, well, I got this thing hooked up. Let's go ahead and see what this does. I'm super curious of what this cheap 15 on this little 600 watt amp will actually do. So let's get to it. All right, everything's hooked up. And again, I've used this box a lot, guys. It's a good box. I can hit anywhere from 138 to 145s in this box with a single 15, just depending on the setup. And we got this little 600 watt at 2 ohm Soundstream, so we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and get it cranked up and see what happens. And I'll have this box in the same position, same orientation, everything as when I do my other SPL tests. So we'll be able to check it out and see how it goes. Alright guys, so I already did a sweep to see what the highest frequency is, and 39 hertz. So that's right about what every sub in this box does to peak around like 38 to maybe 41. And this is at 39 hertz, which is what this is the loudest at. So it's got the best chance at hitting it here at 39 hertz. Alright, so that's it guys, 136.13. So that's not super loud. So I would say that that's myth busted, that if you give a sub what it needs, like a 600 watt sub with a 600 watt amp, it'll be just as loud as getting a 3000 watt amp on a 3000 watt sub. That's just simply not the case. So more power does get you more volume, and this did nowhere near 150. That's pretty far away even from 140. So, not sure. I'm kind of not believing all these guys that say, back in the day, I did 150, 145 on a, cheap kicker 12 on a 400 watt amp or whatever. So, it's not looking like that's truthful. Because even with variances, it would be close. This is not even close. So, 136.13 is pretty far from it, guys. So, let me know what you think. And this is not a review of this sub. If you guys want to see a review, I'll post a review of it shortly. I just wanted to do this test on what this sub and a low wattage amp actually puts out. All right, guys, so that was it. This was a fun test. I was curious as well to see, do you really get a lot more when you start jumping up into the higher money, higher power stuff, like the 2,000, 3,000 watt amplifiers and $400 or $500 subs? The answer is yes, you do get a lot more, and you do get a lot more volume out of it, which is to be expected. But I kind of wanted to kill two birds with one stone with this test. Now I think, in my opinion, all the guys that say, oh, I did 150 or did 145 off a cheap 12 and a 300 watt amp, I don't believe that. Just because I've seen how hard it is to hit 145 and how much power it takes. So, and I gave this thing every chance in the world in a big loud box. So it had all its, everything it needed, but it's just, it's a low wattage sub and 600 watts. So thought maybe you guys would find that interesting and fun. And also, so you do get a lot going with more power and a more expensive sub. I think you guys even check out my HiFonics 15 video I did a couple weeks ago. That's just a mid-grade sub. It did 141 with about 3,000 watts on it. So you do get louder. More money you spend, you can get louder in general. Not every way, because there's going to be guys that argue about that. But this was just a simple test. So let me know what you guys think. I'm really glad I did this, because I was getting so curious too. All these guys making that comment, and I kind of don't believe it after trying this out, because 136 is way far off from 145 or 150. So, and again, this amp does 600 RMS. I dynoed it, so that's real. It got the power it needed. It was in a big box. But all right, guys, well, let me know what you think, and I will catch you on the next one.
Dang, whippersnappers done myth busted it.